So I'm Brandon Sanderson. For those who don't know, I finished Robert Jordan's Wheel of Time starting in 2007. I started working on them. This was a deep honor. Talking about the Wheel of Time, I mean, it's, I think, impossible to separate the influence the Wheel of Time had over my generation of writers. I often call myself Tolkien's grandchild, right? Because I feel like the generation that Robert Jordan was working was, they were taking the ideas and lessons Tolkien taught them in creating Lord of the Rings and applying them really for the first time to their own epic fantasies. And I didn't grow up reading Tolkien. I grew up reading Robert Jordan. I eventually read Tolkien when I was much older and appreciated it, but really the foundational story that I used as a model for learning how to write epic fantasy was The Wheel of Time. The Wheel of Time did really well, and I think writers to this day struggle to match what Robert Jordan was able to do, is really craft intriguing, distinctive viewpoints. You see, every character you read in The Wheel of Time, when you see the world through their eyes, you really feel like you understand them from the simple way they describe the world around them. This had a huge effect on me. I'd read lots of interesting books that do really interesting things with viewpoint. I love Dune, for instance. But Dune is omniscient, and it approaches things in a lot of the ways that Tolkien himself did, with this sort of omniscient narrative going on. And Jordan didn't do that. Jordan was a master of the limited viewpoint. When you were in Matt's head, you saw the world like Matt saw the world. When you were in Rand's head, it was a different world, completely. And I love this about his writing. I love the breadth and extent of the many different viewpoints and how distinctive from one another they all are. I love that he was able to weave this all together and tell not just the story of Rand becoming the Dragon Reborn, but of the entire world turning around how Rand was becoming the Dragon Reborn. And that's a very different thing. It is not Rand's story, it's the entire world's story, told through the eyes of all these people who got swept up into it. I love how he did this. I went back recently and reread Eye of the World because I was working on a little deleted scene from Memory of Light. We were putting it in a charity anthology. And once again, I was just floored by how even the first book is so masterful with his use of viewpoint. I still don't think I've read anyone who's ever been better. And of course, he has lots of other talents in constructing a narrative. I mean, when I had to work on these books, the thing I was most scared of was trying to interweave a large number of viewpoints. I had tried writing my own big epic before. I tried in 2002. It was a book called The Way of Kings. It's not the one that any Pit Buddy has read because it was a disaster. I tried to interweave 10 different viewpoints in one novel, and it was just a mess. I got like a little bit through each of the different books, or each of the different narratives in that one book. It felt like 10 separate starts to 10 different series rather than one book. But Robert Jordan was able to weave all of this stuff together to create cohesive narratives. And when I came to write Gathering Storm, I realized this is something I couldn't afford to be bad at anymore. It was a little bit like jumping into the deep end and just starting to swim. I had to learn. I think applying that lesson to my own writing is what finally got me to be able to write The Way of Kings in a way that worked, that has become its own successful novel. And I attribute that directly to the time I spent working on The Wheel of Time. I don't know if we'll ever have another writer quite like Robert Jordan. I am really honored to have been able to be a part of the legacy of The Wheel of Time, and I look forward to many people throughout the many years in the future enjoying this series as I have.